The standoff that had the world holding its breath has broken. The US and Iran have reached an agreement, and for the first time in months, the vital arteries of global trade are moving again. Just days ago, we were looking at naval blockades, paralyzed shipping routes, and the very real threat of a full-scale regional war. Look at this chart tracking the immediate economic fallout. The moment the deal was announced, both Brent crude and US oil prices took a sharp dive. The markets priced in an immediate de-escalation. In Washington, Donald Trump framed this entirely on his terms. He declared the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz a definitive American win, presenting the agreement as a total victory. But the timeline tells a different story. The White House originally demanded the deal be signed electronically on Sunday. Tehran flatly refused. Instead, Iranian officials laid out their own schedule. They dictated that the formal signing would happen in person on Friday, Jummah. And ultimately, Washington agreed to the change. Washington's pivot to this new schedule suggests that for this opening phase, the terms of engagement are being set by Tehran. The headline is that 60 days of nuclear negotiations are about to begin, but those talks won't start until 3 strict, non-negotiable preconditions are met by the US. Here is exactly what Iran is demanding. First, the complete lifting of the US naval blockade. Second, an absolute end to all military operations in the region. And then comes the final hurdle. America must release billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets. Tehran made it explicitly clear. That 60-day window for nuclear talks stays firmly shut until that money actually clears the bank. Iran treats this sequence as proof that their military deterrence worked. They successfully compelled the US to clear a multi-billion-dollar precondition before they even pull up a chair to the negotiating table. While Washington and Tehran are taking the spotlight, the actual architecture of this deal was built quietly by middle powers operating through back channels. Nations like Qatar, Turkey, and specifically Pakistan stepped into the vacuum to broker the agreement. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has openly celebrated his country's central role in the talks. This diplomatic maneuver heavily boosted Pakistan's geopolitical standing, drawing a sharp contrast with India's complete absence from the negotiating table. India has strong historical ties with Iran, but the government leaned heavily toward Israel throughout the conflict. By sidelining itself, New Delhi missed a critical opportunity to play peacemaker. Regional power dynamics are shifting. Middle-tier nations recognized a superpower crisis and used it to secure their own diplomatic leverage. But all of this diplomacy remains highly vulnerable. The most immediate threat to the deal is Israel, and specifically Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The tension between Washington and Jerusalem has spiked. During a recent phone call, Donald Trump reportedly lost his temper, aggressively cursing at Netanyahu and demanding restraint. The urgency in Washington stems from the ground reality. Israel is continuing its military strikes on Lebanon, and every single new operation threatens to tear up the US-Iran agreement. Tehran has drawn strict boundaries. If Beirut is hit again, or if Mossad operations target Iranian leadership, they will walk away from the table entirely. They are openly stating that their finger is on the trigger, fully armed and ready to launch a coordinated barrage if those lines are crossed. This agreement remains vulnerable to every rocket and drone strike in the region. Its survival depends entirely on whether the United States can successfully restrain its closest regional ally before the conflict resets.